We all use apps for ride sharing and home rentals, right? But have you ever stopped to think about who's really in charge? Well, a new research editorial suggests that blockchain is about to flip the entire sharing economy on its head, and it's going to change marketing as we know it. So let's dive in and break down how this could actually happen. All right, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at how blockchain is sparking a totally new people-powered sharing economy. Then, we'll get into its impact on everything from ads to brand loyalty. After that, we got to face the real-world hurdles to getting this stuff adopted. And we'll wrap up by looking at the huge, unanswered questions that are going to shape what comes next. So let's start with the big picture. Right now, the sharing economy is just dominated by these giant platforms. But what if that power could be taken away from the platform and given back to the people, to us? Researchers are arguing that's exactly the shift we're on the verge of right now. I mean, think about the last time you booked a ride or a place to stay. Sure, you interacted with another person, but there was a massive company stuck right in the middle, setting all the rules, taking a big cut, and controlling all the data. Well, blockchain is designed to basically cut out that middleman and challenge that entire model.
You know, the research defines blockchain in this really powerful way, not just as a piece of tech, but as an institutional technology. So think of it less like an app and more like a whole new constitution for how we can manage property or trade or even create rules, and do it all without some central company in charge. And this shift, it's pretty dramatic. In the old model, the platform calls all the shots. But in this new user-centric model, branding becomes a team sport. We, the consumers, aren't passive anymore. We become what the research calls institutional influencers, which means we have a real stake and a real voice in how the network is run. The power moves from the boardroom straight to the community.
Okay, so let's move on to our second theme and see how this all connects to the world of advertising. Because if power is really shifting to the user, then the way brands reach us has to change too. This new era requires a completely different marketing toolkit. So forget about just buying ads. Now projects are using things like token airdrops to literally give early community members a piece of the network. Influence moves away from traditional media and toward creators inside the ecosystem. And maybe the most important part, it promises an advertising model where you control your data, which builds trust instead of just exploiting it. But this goes way deeper than just advertising. It's about fundamentally changing what it even means to be a customer. Forget those flimsy loyalty points. We're talking about a massive move toward real, verifiable digital ownership. This is a true paradigm shift. I mean, imagine a loyalty program where your rewards aren't just points that can be devalued or expire. What if they were actual digital assets that you own, assets that you could use or even trade? It creates a much more interactive and, frankly, a much more beneficial relationship for everyone involved. Non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, are the perfect example of this. The research kind of breaks down the customer journey into these three stages. It starts with just liking something about the project. Maybe it's the art, the community, whatever. Then comes buying it, where you actually acquire the asset. But the real key is that final stage. By holding or selling that NFT, you are actively participating in the brand's economy. You're not just a consumer anymore, you're a stakeholder. Okay, so this all sounds pretty revolutionary, right? Which leads to a very fair question. If this is so great, why isn't it everywhere yet? And the research is really clear-eyed about the pretty significant hurdles that are still in the way.
The barriers are really on both sides of the fence. For organizations, managers are worried of the unknown, data ownership is a huge headache, and the regulations are a confusing mess. And for us, the consumers, there's a lot of skepticism about whether it's all just hype, the tech can feel super complex, and let's be honest, old habits die hard.
But here's the thing, it's not impossible. The research points to concrete examples where these hurdles are being overcome. A great one is in the food supply chain. By using blockchain for traceability, letting you literally see the entire journey of your food from the farm to your table, companies are successfully using this tech to build real, tangible consumer trust.
And that brings us to our final section. What's next? The research doesn't pretend to have a crystal ball. Instead, it leaves us with these critical questions that everybody, from marketers to consumers, is going to have to tackle as this technology keeps evolving. First up, as our digital and physical lives start to blend in things like the metaverse, how do you make these new kinds of loyalty programs actually feel valuable? What does a meaningful reward even look like in a virtual world? And what about how we measure success?
Think about it. If someone owns your brand's NFT, but they never buy your physical product, are they loyal? How do we measure success when ownership becomes the key metric right alongside traditional sales? It's a whole new ballgame. Now, this might be the most important question of all. The research points out that even in these so-called decentralized virtual worlds, power can still end up concentrated in the hands of just a few people. So how do we design these systems to actually live up to the promise of being truly democratic?
And so, we're left with this final thought. This technology enables this monumental shift from a top-down world controlled by brands to a bottom-up world built by its users. The future of marketing may no longer be about what brands do to us, but about what we all choose to build with them.